All right, I think everybody's here. Remember, quiet down, please. We can get going. What's the first thing we got to do? We ask you to put away your phones. Seems like most people have done a good job with that. Like I said, if you're standing up here, you can notice. Quiet, guys. Come on. You can notice when you're up here when people are on their phones. So let's pay attention. We've done a pretty good job so far being respectful to our speakers. And obviously, the more you pay attention, the higher chance it is that you learn something from our speakers. So good job today with the picnic. I think when we left, the cafeteria was in a good place. So we've been doing a very good job in there this week. We're competing against the basketball camp to make sure who's neater and cleaner, and we've been doing a good job. So let's continue to do that, and that goes along with the dorms as well, because this is our 36th year here, and there's really no place else to go. So we'd like to stay here. And that kind of hinges on what each camp does each year, that we get invited back by the university. That's what you do to the dorm rooms, campus, cleaning it up, being on time, being respectful, all those things. And so far, you guys have done a good job with that, so let's continue to do that through the rest of the week. All right, tomorrow we go back to 2 runs, a normal morning run, and in the afternoon we do Blue Hole. It's a net downhill run. If you're going, you can go 7, 5, or 4 miles. The last 4 might have a little bit of uphill from 4 to 3. But everything, 7, 6, 5, or 4. 4 is definitely all downhill. The other ones before that have about a mile or so. Maybe the first 2 are downhill, probably net even. Okay, it's all on gravel. Guys, what's going on? We can separate. We can separate every single one of you. Come on. So tomorrow it's on a gravel road. It's a net downhill. You can run pretty quick. We load the buses the same way we did for Reddish Knob, which is by the distance you're going to go. Okay, so it's a run you can have fun with. So just figure in mileage. There is no run back to the buses tomorrow. It's if you get out at 7, straight through is 7 miles. The last mile is all on the road. Make sure you stay facing traffic, okay, on the left side. It's easy when you come out. The road wind, people cross back and forth. Stay on the left side facing traffic. Same when you're on the gravel road. Very few cars come through there, but it is an active road. Just make sure you're looking around and paying attention for cars, okay? We'll have mile markers out as well. 7, they count down. First thing you'll see is 7, then 6, then 5, and 4, and 3. Okay, so I think about that when you're planning the rest of the week. And then Friday morning, we obviously just do 1 run in the morning, okay? All right, let's move on with tonight. Hopefully you got your pizza orders in already. So tonight we have 2 speakers here. One has been at camp, I don't know how many years ago, but he was here as a college student, as a counselor, as some of you guys are. And he came back as a speaker, as a coach. He's been a bunch of different positions. And the other speaker has been here. I don't think he was ever here as a camper, but he was here as a coach. And I'll talk a little about the first speaker now. He's someone that has been one of the best coaches in the state of Virginia, in distance down in Virginia Beach area. I think you were at Bethel to start, Woodside, Denby. Denby was where he was when I ran in college, and he had some of the best teams, some of the best individuals, Foot Locker, Kenny, whatever you want to call it now. And he's had individuals across all lines, whether it's middle distance or distance, has done a lot. And he's been with us for probably 20 years, coming to the camp on and off for some part of the week. And we've asked him to speak to kind of impart on you guys some of his knowledge and how he sees the world today compared to where it was a couple years ago when he was dealing with it. And like I said, he's seen it from a coach and also from an AD side of things. So I think he's got some really unique visions on things, and he'll give you some neat views and give you a little bit of information tonight, too. So, Coach Dorner.
Thank you. That first week after I got off the ark, it was tough. We didn't have a lot of places to run, but it's gotten better. I've got a quick video here that I want to show you. Yeah, 2 of y'all got that. That's good. This first video it's from, if you know the Young brothers, Lex and Leo. I'm sure most of you have heard Lex, Leo. Nico is qualified. This one is freshman Lex Young. And he just got...
Hey guys, James from Mouse here with Alexi Young. He just ran a 14:42, his first ever high school race. That's amazing, dude. That's crazy. Congratulations. How did the race go overall for you, man, for your first high school race?
Well, for the first, I don't know, when we started out, I tried to get into a good spot because that's what my teammates were telling me to do. And then I wanted to stick with them, but, I kept on thinking, man, I can't do this. But what really kept me going and, what helped me, stay with the group of guys that I was running with was hearing all my teammates and my coach yelling that I could do it and I'm committed and I have to. So then I just tried my best to stick with them. And, it was just every second of it, I felt like I was just dying, but I tried to push through.
Did you expect to run under 15 here at Cold Breeze at your first ever high school race?
No, I was going for under 15:30, and yeah, I thought that would just be great, and I would be really happy with that.
So what's your goal for the rest of the season?
Well, I would like to stay. I would like to be on my team's on the cross country team's varsity team and make it to nationals if we could and do well there.
Was there anything that you learned from today's race?
That cross country is a lot harder than it looks.
And what do you say that if you get any inspiration from your older brother Nico?
Well, he really is a really big motivation of mine. Just seeing him run.
Your older brother Nico. Inspiration from your older brother Nico.
If we could and
Listen
do well
to this
there.
part.
Was there anything that you learned from today's race?
That cross country is a lot harder than it looks.
And what do you say that if you get any inspiration from your older brother Nico?
Well, he really is a really big motivation of mine. Just seeing him run so fast makes me want to do the same.
Nice. How is it having Nico as one of the fastest runners in the nation, and just having him with training and practice, and having him as your older brother?
It really helps to keep my focus straight on just being really fast and yeah.
And did you like the course? How was the course? Yeah.
The course was pretty sharp turns at some point, and overall though I felt like it was a good course. I'm not sure because it was my first course.
So what are you looking forward to the most this season?
Hopefully to just keep running really fast and make it to nationals.
Congratulations, thank you, and appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time too.
What I really liked about that when he asked him what are you looking forward to for the season, he didn't say a thing about himself. He said about the team. Hope the team gets to nationals. This was Lex and Leo Young when they were freshmen in high school. They just finished their freshman year at Stanford, so already Nico was running well, and these two kids were running well. But I liked that whole thing. The other thing he goes, when he talked about, I felt like I was dying. I didn't want to quit, though. Why didn't he want to quit? What? Thank you. Say that. Say it loudly. He was worried more about the team than he was himself. One of my daughters said, "What are you going to talk about?" And I don't know. I have a couple pet peeves. The other day at the national deal for the Olympics. For the Olympics, they get in the 5,000. They get about 2 laps to go, and one of the announcers said, "Now we're going to see who wants it more." Most incredibly stupid statement ever made. And she made it on that. Oh, no, they made it. You don't want to be gender. They made it. It'll be people. They made it on national TV. Y'all, I am officially now the oldest on campus. So, if I say something stupid, just say the old man said something stupid. Anyway. Saying we're going to find out who wants it more on the last 800 or whatever is ridiculous. When would you say who wants it more? When? Today, tomorrow. Most of y'all have got state meets coming up in the next 9 weeks, right? You've looked at a calendar. You go, man, by the middle of September, I better start running. I got to get going here. Start tomorrow. I've talked to a couple of people on here. I talked to a young lady, and she said she was a freshman, and I said, let me guess your PR, somewhere around, I said, no, 1930, 20. She said, no, 23. I said, why? Why 23? I mean, really, seriously. There was a kid back in a district where he finally broke 20 minutes, and they renamed the track after him practically. It was like, hey, he ran 20 minutes, really, for a healthy, normal person? That's pretty slow. All right, hold up. A normal male person. You people are bad. You're going to end up getting me in trouble. All I'm saying is you can't wait. You don't have enough time to wait. You got to get started. Y'all have heard a lot of people talk about a lot of different things this week. You've done some nice, apparently Reddish Knob made an impression on several of you. I won't report who, but somebody said after the yoga thing, they would rather run Reddish Knob than have to do yoga again. I thought that was a good statement, and I agreed with it, but, you know, what do I know? I don't know a whole lot. At least that's what my grandchildren say. The common theme that I have for tonight basically is every one of you need to learn to be a good teammate. And that goes from both ends of the spectrum. If you're like one or two, like I talked to another team of 4 boys. I won't mention their name. Science Hill. No, I'm telling you, I've got a fondness for Science Hill. Most of you don't even know that they're a school. They're from Johnson City, and they're here, and they're really good kids. My granddaughter is going to be a freshman at Science Hill, so I'm looking forward to making the trip from Newport News down to Science Hill and all that stuff and watching them run. But I asked them, I said, so who in this group is in the top 3? None of them. Why not? When you, this is one great sport. My first 7 years of coaching, I coached basketball. You know, y'all heard Coach Tim last night talking about wanting to be a basketball player, and he stopped growing in 3rd grade, and he didn't get there. All right, I wanted to be a basketball guy as well. Didn't get there. There's not a lot of call for a 6-foot white guy that can't jump. And now I'm 5'10" and definitely can't jump. If I had a bad basketball team, all I needed was 3 players. I could get 3 players. The other 2 I could convince that their purpose in life was to be defensive players. I told the other 3 never pass those guys the ball. And we won some games. We did all right. You can't do that in cross country. You got to have a minimum of 5 guys, 5 people. 5 human beings, regardless of gender. I'm going to be in trouble. When I go to court, some of y'all are going to have to go there and say, he didn't really mean it. He's an old man. I know. They have an all-gender bathroom in there. So if we're going to work hard to be a good teammate, how many people in here, just by a show of hands, is either 1 or 2 on your team? Just show me your hands. You're 1 or 2. All right. That's great. What are you going to do to become a better teammate as a 1 or 2 runner? What is something you could do? Show me a hand and tell me out loud. What can you do? All right, hey. Y'all got to hear. Say what? Be a better leader for my team. I had one of the greatest number 1 runners ever in high school down there. He was a great number one runner. He would go in dual meets, and I would tell him, I say, hey, stay with the number 4 kid. Get him at least to the 2-mile mark. We didn't care about dual meets. Get him at least to the 2-mile mark before you take off. And he would run with him. On that particular year, well, I'm glad Coach Davis isn't here because he would love this. But y'all can tell him later that I did say it. We took 1-2 individually in the state meet. I had 2 studs up front. My third guy was pretty good. He was like 25th. I'm not sure my 4th or 5th man is finished yet. And that, it was just one of those deals. We won district, region. We won the Wendy's meet down in Charlotte. We won William and Mary. All this stuff. Later on, when talking to the kids, and I asked them politely, why did y'all run so poorly? They go, the hills. Are you kidding me? You got 2 teammates that you've been running with all year within 34 seconds. And they went 1-2. You can't stay with them? So that was just strictly mental. So if we're good teammates, and we just said be a better leader, what if you are like 6th or 7th? What should you try to do? Where should you try to be? How about 4th or 5th? How about moving? Don't assign yourself a position on that team. It's just not going to happen. You need to do something. I mean, we're not all born with the Prefontaine gene and we're going to just go out and run till our nose bleeds. That just doesn't happen. But you can go out and work hard. And nobody's ever asking you to do something you can't do. I've talked to a lot of the coaches in here. I mean, we've got some great coaches, collegiate, high school, whatever. A lot of good coaches in here. Nobody's going to ever ask you to run a personal best every race. My granddaughter thinks she's got a PR every race. No. All you have to do is run the best you can that day. That's it. The other thing, and I think I wrote this down on my notes to say out loud. Oh, I did. Don't slack off in practice. I see that sometimes. One of the great workouts that we like to do was 10 times 800. This is during cross country, 10 times 800. The good guys tried to do them at 222, 225, something like that. Of those 10, the good guys had to run at least 8. If you wanted to take off 2 at any point, that's fine. My really good guys always ran 10. If you were kind of a seasoned guy, you'd been there, seasoned person, and you'd been there for a little while, you might only miss 1. And some of the rookie kids that were just out, they might miss 2 or 3. It was never a point to kill anybody. It was just a point for them to get used to running. And so you have all seen people on your team slack off in practice. As coaches, we've all seen it. And you as teammates, you can do something about that. You can shame them a little bit. I don't know what the correct word is. I don't know what the correct stuff to say anymore. Self-image. Self-image, again, goes 2 ways. Each one of you in this room has an idea about self-image. Self-image. I'm a stud. No. My first wife's lawyer did not think so. So, you can help with self-image. Have you ever heard somebody on your team kind of make fun of somebody or yell? Like everybody is affected by self-image. So that's something you can work on. If you're going to be a good teammate, you don't need to be there crashing on, I don't even know if that's the correct word, messing with, I got to choose words carefully. I'm not used to this. Picking on your teammate. There you go. I used to pick on I'm the oldest of 3 boys, and I picked on my little brother. He eventually became a cop and one time tried to arrest me, but it was all in fun. He did not actually want to do that. A Olu the other night said something about stimulus. I thought that was great. We're all affected by outside, watch this, outside stimuli. That's more than one stimulus. Yeah, I'm thinking about going on Jeopardy, but I don't know. The definition that I got out of stimuli was it's anything or something that causes a response. You get that all the time. I mean, everywhere you go, you got people saying something. I pulled one of the great things of all time. We went to the regional meet. We were like, if you call it ranked, second or third in the region. But I knew we had a chance if we run well, put all five together, we could be all right. So we go to the regional. We're there at the coaches meeting, and that was back when you had to be at the coaches meeting. And I got my packet, my numbers, and I came back, and I had a great manager. And I told him I said, when I throw the packet down, you pick it up and give out. I throw the packet down, and I storm off, and I go, rah, rah, I don't know, expletive deleted. And what I said was, they've already said we can't finish better than third. We took that meet by like 15 points. I mean, my guys, they were stimulated. They responded, wait, time out. They responded to a cause of something, and that was me being obnoxious. All right. I read this the other day. You can't go home and say, Coach Dorner said this. But I read this, and it's kind of appropriate to me. Everything that you have ever done or that which has been happening to you has made you the person you are today. Now, the reason I say that is a lot of people go, I wish when I was in the fifth grade I'd done so-and-so. You know, if I hadn't hit her, I'd still be in school. It doesn't, everything that has happened to you people, you know, oldest of three, I mean, my father, I thought he was running a military camp. My father, sidebar, 100% true. My father was in the Navy, drove a Higgins boat to shore on D-Day. One last thing about this thing about a teammate. One of my daughters, it was like our number 6 girl. She wasn't the greatest runner in the world, but man, every day she was out there cranking hard. We go to the district meet, and the number 4 girl is sick. She can't run. So now Catherine is elevated theoretically to the 5th position, but there's another girl that actually could have. So they're running along, and about a 2-mile mark or so, Catherine comes up on the girl that was supposed to be number 3. She's running horribly. Number 4's not there. And Catherine says, she come on. And so Catherine runs, and we win the district title by like 2 points. Catherine runs her little bunnies off that day, and nobody even said anything. They go, because we had won several, the girls and the boys had won several, and they just go, didn't be one again. But nobody knew the behind-the-scenes thing. Catherine, Adam, that was Mercy's mother. So Adam knows who I'm talking to and about. Catherine was something special. And one last one. This is my last deal. I told y'all got a good guy getting ready to speak here in a minute. I'm going to be gone. I told him, I said, I can do 12 minutes. David Colley. If you watch the things, Andrew Colley was in the trials. Andrew Colley is the son of the kid that I coached. His father, to show you, was, as a sophomore, was going to be the number 13 returning runner for the next season. That winter, I noticed him trying to improve a little bit. His PR in the 2 miles, 11:02. A male running 11:02 in high school. That's not very good. The next year as a junior, he ran 9:47 and he placed in the state indoor meet in the 3200. And I tell you this because there was only one thing that he didn't suddenly grow some muscles or something that he didn't have. He just went to work every single day. I mean, every single, you didn't go out and run 40 miles, but just every day he did exactly what we asked, and he just 100% effort, mental focus, and all that kind of stuff. So all I'm saying is, all you number 3s, 4s, and 5s, you should be higher. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Al. All right. Interesting. I bet you how many people thought that's what Al would be like up here, Coach Dorner. So he brings a lot of enthusiasm for life. Everything he does it to the fullest. So I'm sure you took some good information away from that about being a good teammate, working hard, and you can get better. All right, our next individual is someone who's epitome of working hard. I've had the privilege of knowing him since my freshman year at Georgetown, the fall of '87. He was 1 year ahead of me there. He's a guy who got into Georgetown on his own, baseball player, never really ran. Ended up being, I think, 6-time All-American, Olympic trials qualifier, incredible runner. But some of his highlights was, the year that we won the Big East title, he fell the first 3 times over the water jump in the steeplechase and still won the race. So it was determination. You can fall down, but you get up and you keep going. And Pete was one of those guys that we all looked up to. He was ahead of us a year, and he always kind of had a chip on his shoulder because, he wasn't recruited. He didn't do any, I don't even know what his times were in high school. But he showed up to Georgetown, which at that time was one of the premier programs in the country. And he's like, I'm going to find a way. And if there's ever a guy who demonstrated that, it was Pete, of finding a way to just be as good as anybody else that was there. And that part of the time when Pete and I were there, we had a guy that ended up being 3rd in the world in the 800, ranked number 1 in the U.S. in the 15 for years, 2 800 guys. It was we were second NCAAs in indoor track. It was one of the best programs in the country, and Pete found a way to be one of the best guys on that team. So what has he done since then? He'll tell you a little bit more about it, but he came out, he was a professional runner for a while. Now he's a professional masseuse. He's also a coach. He helps people find colleges. He does a lot of stuff. So I've asked him to speak tonight just from a lot of different venues, a lot of different perspectives. So he's got free will to go over some things. I told him just kind of impart his knowledge, what he's learned from being down here in a program that was really good. How, why'd you do that? Why do you even think you could run there, to being one of the best in the country? He can give you a lot of useful information. Now he works with kids your age, trying to help you become better athletes, stay healthy, become better runners, find the right college fit. So I want to welcome Pete Sherry up here and see what he has to offer.
Thanks, Dan. Second here. I turn this off and I use the other one, right? All right, does that work? Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. I have a couple pictures to show you, and I'll go through those a little bit. A couple of fun ones, and then some pictures of me running. Again, just thank Danny for having me. This is, I came here, like you said, I came here years ago when I was at Georgetown as a counselor then, and then after that I was kind of a coach counselor, and then I've been here a number of times, gave a talk. I think the last time I was here probably was, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. So it's been a while. So it's been a while since I've kind of gotten up in front of the runners like this and talked. Can we throw a couple pictures up now? I was going through my old pictures looking for Danny wanted me to bring some. I keep calling him Danny. It's Coach Ireland. But I don't know why Danny. I don't know why you're wearing a Landon preppy school shirt there. But this is Danny from my bachelor party back in the day, playing a little paint gun there. And then what do we got the next one here? I think the next one up. Oh, can we clarify this a little bit? The reason I picked this one, it's a little hard to see, but I have a tie on in the back there. Danny has a tie, and then there's Danny's wife there. Is Addison here? Yeah, that's your mom up there, by the way. So that's Christy in the yellow there. That was our team. We won the. I think both men and women won the regional cross country championships at Connecticut that year, and that was fall of '89. And then what do we got next here? This was one of the first years at camp, and I brought the McLean team, and some of the coaches might remember this. That they had like a two-headed cow in the Science Center. Is that still hanging around? Yeah, that was always a highlight of me for the camp. I don't know if they still have that, but what do we got next? And then here's me running it. This is my 5th year at Georgetown, running the 4x15. That's here. I'm running the second leg there. The year before, I had run against the same guy from Arkansas, and he beat me pretty good. And this year, I got the best of him. I think I ran 3:41 for 1500 that day, and we broke the American collegiate record, which is still part of that. It's still a record actually from Penn. And my 3 teammates all made the Olympic team. One made the 8, one made the 15, and one made the 5 over the next 2 Olympic cycles. I was, though I had a nice career, I was the only one who did not make the Olympic team from that team. It was a pretty good team. This is me representing the United States. I made 2 World University Games team, which is kind of like the under 23. I got a silver medal one year at the in Sheffield at the 5K. This is me running in Buffalo, the 10K. I think I was 6th that year. And then I also made 2 world cross-country teams. One I got to compete, and one I did not. I got injured. I think that's the next one coming up. So here are 2 races. This is the U.S. Championships down in Greensboro. As you can see, this is my favorite sport or season, cross-country, and this is what I call, true cross-country. It was muddy, hilly, nasty weather. Some names from my era. Abdi Rahman, he made a couple Olympic teams in there. Adam Goucher's up front, Alan Culpepper, Hauser. There's about 6, 7 Olympians. Meb Keflezighi is there on the side. America's probably best marathoner. Bob Kennedy is there in the middle. And I love this picture. I've had it in my office for a while. I think it goes to show kind of true cross country. And at that time, Americans really were running, cross country. It seems like a lot of the elites aren't running cross country as much these days. But this goes to show, I think, in that picture, I think there were 3 made the 5 team and 3 made the 10 team that year Olympics. It was a pretty loaded field. I was lucky enough to be on that team, and I think we ended up either 6th or 8th at the World Championships that year. Next. Just a picture of me coaching. Are they in our Centerville kids? Are they here? Anyone from Centerville? Yeah, Coach Finale, right? So Coach Finale there on the side was my assistant coach at Herndon. He's one of my former runners. He was my best miler ever at Herndon, ran 4:09. One thing that's not really nice about coaching is we stayed in touch. Just talked to him the other day, checking in. It's a nice reward for coaching is trying to stay in touch with my former athletes. He ran at Virginia Tech for a couple of years, and now he's just kind of living his life in Virginia. He's an engineer, but it's great to stay in touch. And one of my assistant coaches, who is now coaching and doing a great job at Centerville High School. And it's always nice to see when someone who you worked with has gone on to really do a great job with their own team. What do we got? Anything left? I forgot. Okay, so I think we're just going to leave up picture, and I got one more in the end there when I'm done. 1 second. So when Coach Ireland asked me to talk, I thought about it. I didn't really know. Like I said, I've been out, haven't run a race in like 30 years probably, and haven't coached track since 2017. I've been actually coaching softball since then at the high school with my daughter's team. But the only thing what I thought of is, because we have a wide range here. I'm sure we have kids who would like to maybe win a state title or be all-state in cross country. Some maybe want to run in college, but we also, it sounds like, we have some who've never run before. Maybe this is their first year running. So it's kind of hard when you're talking to a group with that wide range of abilities and goals, like what's going to sink in? What do you guys want to hear? So my basic theme is, and it's kind of twofold, is how can we improve, right? Hopefully you guys are out there, you're working hard, and you're putting the time in. But I think no matter whether you're going to be on the varsity or your goal is to be all-state or even win a state title, even if you're, the 12th girl on the cross-country team out of 14 girls, right? Or, the slowest boy in the team, the goal should always be that we want to improve. And I think we should take pride in that. And it doesn't have to be to win a state title or be all-state. And that can be not hard. I'm sure a lot of you have great coaches, great teams out here. You guys go to a lot of great meets all over, and that can kind of get lost in the shuffle with some of the kids in the back. But really, what's nice about this sport is it has a team aspect, but it's about yourself. And you really should take pride in how much you can improve season to season and year to year. I think you're also, just the fact that how much you're running and how much work you're putting in, it's something that you can take with you down the road. I'm still running, all the coaches still run, and you'll find as you get older, all of a sudden your friends who never ran before will start running, and they'll start asking you for advice, and they'll be amazed that, oh, you did this in cross country in high school, and they'll be really impressed with what you did and all the work you put in. And I think you'll also, one thing, it's even if you are one of the kind of back of the pack runners, you'd be amazed at how much more fit you are and how much better you are than some of these kids on the other sports. Believe me, I've coached, worked with baseball and softball. You want to talk about some slow runners, and they're not lazy, but man, even if you are not one of the studs on your team, you are really so much more fit and you're so much better than even you think you are. If you were to, go for a run with one of those guys or one of the girls in the softball, you'd be surprised at really kind of the shape they're not in and how good a shape you guys are in. And that's something you should take pride in, and that's something you can keep with you, like as I said, lifelong. The other thing is, you really need to, and that kind of goes in part with enjoying the sport, and I know good coaches always talk about this, is that you're never going to do well in the sport unless you're having fun and you're enjoying it. And I know running doesn't always sound fun, but just the idea that you could be really good at something, that you can get up at 7 in the morning and go for a 5-mile run, that you could put in 30, 40, 50 miles a week. That may not be fun, but you should take pride in it, and that's going to help you enjoy this sport, no matter how well you do or how, or kind of where it takes you. But that, and I've known all these coaches for years, and we all talk about it, you hear it all the time, is if you're not having fun, I tell the kids on my team all the time, like if you're not out here having fun, just go do something else, right? You don't have to be good. I don't care if everyone on my team, how fast you are. I just want you to work hard and enjoy the sport. And if you're not enjoying it or enjoying the work that you're doing, I don't want to be around it. I don't want that kind of negative energy. And I think all the coaches would agree is even though we can get pretty intense and talk about winning all the time, what we really want is for you guys to enjoy the work and the effort that you're putting in. That's going to take you a long way. The other thing is, and again, Danny talked about a little bit my career. I was a runner, ran professionally, been coaching for a number of years. I owned a shoe store for about 4 or 5 years. Thankfully, I got out of retail. It wasn't for me. Got my massage therapy license, and now I have a practice for about 13 years doing massage therapy. It's basically PT work. I'm not a PT. I can't call myself that. But I work with a lot of runners and golfers and all sports, just trying to keep kids healthy and adults, fixing injuries. So the biggest thing that I've, again, how to improve and how to enjoy this sport is that you have to stay healthy, okay? And I got kids in my office all the time talking about they want to just run through injuries and they've got big meets coming up, and remind them, this is my thing about training and staying healthy. As a coach, I would much rather have an athlete at 80% of the fitness of where maybe they want it to be, kind of their goal for the season, about 80% where they want it to be, and 100% healthy. I'll take that over someone exactly where their fitness is and they're kind of 80% healthy. So unfortunately, the nature of the sport is you can get all the workouts, you can get all your runs in, you can be in the weight room all season, everything's going great, and you get a bad blister on that big toe for 2 or 3 days, and you show up at the state meet, and you can't utilize all that work you put in because maybe you ignored the blister, you popped it when you weren't supposed to, you didn't put a bandana, you didn't take care of that injury, and now all that work that you put in has kind of gone to waste because you can't utilize it 100%. And that's why, as much as, I train my kids hard, but overtraining is really the worst thing you can do, getting injured. Like that's going to keep you from doing your best. As I said, I would much rather have someone be 100% healthy and go into that race and kind of utilize their fitness and compete at a high level than overtrained and kind of show up and just not ready to run. And going along with that, and I know the coaches will agree, is you have to, in order to stay healthy, obviously the things like, we talk about stretching, weight room, nutrition, getting in to see the trainer, but you have to communicate with your coaches, okay? Let them know if something's bothering you. You can know the difference between being sore and being injured. Kids come into my office and they say, oh, I'm here, my calves are sore. I say, oh, both? Yeah, both. And he said, good. That's good to hear, right? Because I'd much rather have that than have the left one be really sore and the right one's fine, because that tells me something's going on. Got some biomechanical issues, there's compensation going on. But as a coach, we don't know that. If you're running around the track and warming up and you're limping, and you're not telling us what's going on, then we have to kind of look out for ourselves. But you have to communicate that to your coach. And good coaches, if you find them at the right time and tell them what's going on, they're not going to kind of think bad of you, like, oh, you're just kind of being wimpy. No, let them know what's going on. Let them know this hurts, or you think you can do the workout, but you may have to stop. But the communication is key, because again, we can't read your mind. We don't know what's going on. But if you try to run through an injury, if you say, oh, my Achilles, it hurts now and I'm limping around the track, but it'll be fine tomorrow. I don't know, what magic pill you're taking that's going to make an injury fine one day to the next. But as a coach, we'd much rather have you rest, kind of get healthy, and as I said, utilize that fitness. But it doesn't do anyone any good if you try to run through injuries or hide injuries, or hey, I want to make this trip. We're going down to Tech for a race, and you don't want to tell someone that you're injured or banged up. But we can't help you. We can't help you stay healthy and achieve your goals if you're kind of hiding injuries or not communicating with coaches. Okay, so please be aware of that. The last thing, kind of in the, I'm going to cover one topic about competing, but before that, I would say as far as recovering, I would say the most important factor, and this is actually a training, when people talk about training is, oh, we do hill repeats, we do tempos, and we do long runs, all these other things. You talk to some of the elite athletes, what they will, if you really ask them the right question and kind of steer them that way, what they'll talk about is, how much sleep do you get, right? I remember Dina Castor, a great American marathon, used to talk about all the naps she would take, like during the day, right? All the training doesn't do any good if we can't recover and adapt. All our training really is we go out and we stress our body adapts to that stress, and therefore we improve. And we can stress it more, and we keep adapting to it, and that's how you improve. You stress your body, you recover, you adapt, your body adapts to the stress, and now you can continue to improve and work hard. One of the greatest training elements we have is that sleep. You do a hard workout on a Tuesday after school on the track, you're really killing it, you're doing the 10 times 800. That night, when you get your set, hopefully 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, that's when the benefits of all that training is coming into play. If you don't pay attention to that, I know it's hard, I have 3 daughters, I know it's hard, the hours and the school and everything, but if you don't pay attention to the sleep and get that, you're going to limit your improvements. That's when you can get tremendous amount of improvements, is allowing your body to adapt to all the good work that you put in. I know it sounds pretty simple, but it does make a big difference. The last kind of thing I want to talk about, I guess, would be competing. And I think this is the most important element of how we can improve. And again, this goes for someone trying to win a state title, or someone, one of the back of the pack runners. And sometimes I get a lot of adults too who are trying to run their first marathon. And what I always remind them is that marathon could be it's 26 miles, it's a long way, but a lot of the marathoners will talk about it's a 20-mile run, and and then a 10K, 10K race. And that's what I stress, even if it's your first time. I always tell my marathoners, get your work in, get in the race, but at some point you have to turn it into a race. You have a number on, the gun goes off, they're keeping score. It's still a race. And that ability to compete is going to help you prove. And again, it doesn't matter if you are in the back of the pack, and I tell these marathoners, and they're like, well, I'm only a 5-hour marathoner, it's just a run for me. Well, if you want to be a 4:40 marathoner in that same day, that ability to compete can go a long way. And it might just be that person with the red hat in front of you, annoying for 20 miles, and just the idea that like, hey, the last 6, I'm going to try to beat them because they're driving me crazy, all right? That can go a long way just to help you improve, okay? Now, for a lot of the first-time runners, we talk about, I'm talking about competing, and you go to some big cross-country race at Great Meadow, and there's, 50 teams there, and you have, no idea what you're supposed to do. And this is going to tie in with one of my pet peeves, which is about time in cross-country. But what I tell those runners is the best way to start is with your own team. And there's nothing wrong with competing against your own team. If you're a freshman, and that's what Danny talked about when I was at Georgetown, is when I first got there, is I just wanted to I was the slowest guy in the team. I just wanted to beat the guy ahead of me. And I kept doing that for literally almost 4 years, okay? So if you go to a race and you're a freshman or it's your first race this season, you have no idea who's out there. A good way to start is just with the 10 guys on your team, okay? So if you're at practice, you've been last, in every workout, and you're kind of the slowest one on the team. But if your goal, it can just be to beat 1 or 2 guys on your team or 1 or 2 girls on your team, that can go a long way, and that's going to help you improve. And one of the things that does, again, one of my other pet peeves is when my runners would come back to me in college and ask them, how'd this race go? I saw you ran a 3K at Mason indoors in December. It didn't go that well, or what's going on? He's like, oh, it was just a workout. It didn't really count, it was just a workout. We were training through it. Drives me crazy. Like, you had a number, you got entered, they shot a gun, they kept score, right? They had a finish line. To me, that's a race. And the other 7 or 8 guys that were in front of you, they were training through it too. Okay, no one is trying to peak for the 3K at Mason in December when they got a national meet coming up in February. So there's nothing wrong with trying to beat your friends and your teammates. Danny talked about what a great team we had at Georgetown, and when I walked on as a freshman, I'd only run 1 race in high school, I ran cross country, but I only run 1 track race. I ran 10 minutes for 2 miles, and was able to thankfully walk on at Georgetown. And at the same time, we had the top recruit in the country. He was a national record holder at 3,000 meters. He had run 8:01, I think, for 3,000, and he was my teammate. And freshman year didn't go so well. Wasn't very serious with it. But my sophomore year, when I came back, my goal, I thought to myself, was, I've got the greatest runner in the country, future Olympian, national champion. He's my friend, my teammate. My goal going forward, I'm just going to try to beat him every time we race. And we were in the same events. Now, at first, my sophomore year, I wasn't usually in the same heat as he was. By our last 2 or 3 years, when we would go to a meet, we would often run the same events. In cross country, we were always running together. When we're up at Dartmouth or at Big East or NCAAs or East Coast cross country, and my goal was to always beat him. And I thought that was a pretty good goal because he was one of the best runners in the country. And over the years, I had kept moving up, and it got closer. Now, jump ahead, we ran together at Georgetown, we ran together professionally, we trained together. I probably raced him, I don't know, maybe 30 times. Where's Danny? You know how many times I beat John? None, correct. Not once. I finished ahead of him 1 time at the national meet, but he just had a bad day. I don't even really count that. But that was my goal. I would jump ahead of him with 2, 3 to go. I would do anything I can to beat him. And he would catch me, and a couple times he's like, I got it from here, we're good, I'll take it, I'll take over. So, and of course, then he would win. But the nice thing is, looking forward, is John was in my wedding. I was a groomsman in his wedding. we stay in touch all those years. I probably drove him crazy, you know, trying to beat him all the time, probably maybe even in practice sometimes when it wasn't really appropriate, but that was my goal. And when people ask me, you know, over the years, what are the one things that helped you become such a good runner? And I give John a lot of the credit. I tried to do what he did, and I tried to beat him all the time. It never worked, but it made me a better runner. I tried to go out hard. I tried to sit and kick. I tried everything. But honing those skills, just trying to beat that one guy on my team, led to success so that when I had an opportunity, he wasn't in the race, I was able to do pretty well, okay? So that is one thing, is that, you know, you're teammates, right? When you're out in the race, you're not friends. So it's okay to try to beat your teammate because it makes the team better. I had a really good girl. She was a one-time state champion, had just one of the better runners in the area for a long time. And I told her, I said, my goal is for, you know, you to be like third or fourth on our team. That'd be great. If I can get a couple other girls to beat you or be right next to you, we got ourselves a good team. I don't think she appreciated that. But my goal as a coach was, hey, if she's running well and I can get people to beat her, we got ourselves a pretty good team. Now, along with this, I would say my Coach Dorner talked about pet peeves. And this is only really pretty much for cross country, but one of my pet peeves is, and he talked about it, and was it Lexi Young talked about it also? And maybe I'm a little old school, but as I got away from coaching, people were coming to my office more and more, and I'd ask them, hey, how'd the race go this weekend? Oh, I PR'd, I ran, 16:20 or whatever. And my head would want to explode because when I stopped running, we didn't PR. Danny, we never used the term PR in cross country. It was not a thing. And I know it is a thing, and it's, we've got DieStat and MileStat and Let's Run, all these people talking about times and PRs and records, but cross country is really about beating people, and that's what I talked about. I had a client come in, and I asked them, I think the state meet was like 2 weeks away, and I said, kind of goals are, you kept talking about times. Would you rather run, your best time of the season and get 15th, or would you rather be third and run slower than you've ever run before? And he hesitated. I was like, what are you hesitating for? Third, you got a bronze medal. That's a great day. No one cares how fast you ran. And I couldn't believe that he even thought about trying to run fast in cross country. It's the purest of sports. It's about just competing hard and improving and trying to beat people. And I think that's, if we can just get away a little bit, I think coaches and as athletes, from talking about times in cross country. Track, it's different, especially outdoors. And I know it's a hard sell, but I can remember specifically taking my team, and I don't know, as athletes, you guys may not even appreciate this, but for years I took my team down to William and Mary. They had a great course down there, knew the coach well, and it was, I think, it was just roughly a 5K course, I don't know. And now I use times because I have a general idea kind of where I want my kids to be, and I thought we had trained well, we went down there, we raced well, we placed pretty high, but I couldn't figure out why they were like, 10, 15, 20 seconds slower than what I expected or what they had run the year before, and it didn't really make sense. So I went up to the coach at the time and I said, what's going on? You've had the same course for 20 years, and all of a sudden, what's going on with this times? The meet seemed like a better meet and everything. He's like, well, we had a lot of rain last week, so I didn't cut the grass, and then the tree fell down over there, so we had to go around the tree, and then if you remember last year, it was beautiful weather. This year's about 90% humidity, right? So he just gave me 3 factors about this course that they run every year. We brought my team to every year. And I didn't even know it. I didn't notice the grass was higher. I didn't know that we went over there. I forgot what the weather was last year. My point being is that it was not about the time. And I had to kind of talk my kids down because my kids were upset. Oh, we didn't run as fast as last year. But I'm like, there were 10 more teams this year. There were better competition. You guys placed higher as a team. You placed better individually. And some of you are upset because you didn't run as fast as last year. And I had kind of trouble understanding that. So I just want you to think about that a little bit. If we can just get away a little bit from talking times in cross country and stop using the term PR and just really think about competing, improving, beating people, getting higher on your team, beating some kid who beat you last year. I can remember So I ran one season of cross country in high school, and I finished 8th in my region meet, so I just missed going to the state meet. And I remember noting where all those kids were running in college. I remember where they ran in college. And it took me 2 years, and it was the regional championships of my sophomore year before I finally beat every single one of those kids that had beat me my senior year in cross country. A little sick, right? I mean, just the fact that I knew where they were and I was keeping track. But to me, that's what motivated me. And by doing that, I was able to improve, and at that point, I was now the 8th guy on the nationally ranked Georgetown cross country team. But just that motivation of just trying to beat people and get better and improve week after week, to me, that's what motivated me, and it worked for me. So I want to put one final picture up, and this again goes along with kind of my talking about time versus place. So let's put the last picture up here, and we'll call it a day. All right, so that's me. Please tell me you guys know who that guy is on my left. Centro, right. I know Centro since he was about 2 years old. I babysat him. His father was my coach, vacation with the family, known him since he was a kid, right? Great athlete. Obviously, he's going to go down as one of America's best all-time milers. And you'll see, especially after he won, does anyone know how fast he ran when he won the Olympics? How fast? What is it? 3:51. Anyone else know? Okay, no, you're close. Like I say, yeah. So it's pretty good. We got a groom, but a lot of people don't even know, that time. That's impressive, and it drove me insane when you would see on the message board in the chats room, that's not even a good high school time. That's the slowest race in the history of the 1500. By the way, he's the first American to win that gold medal right there since I think 1904. And to this day, I think only 2 Americans have won the gold medal, and he's one of them. Okay? I've held that gold medal. I held it around my neck. I picked it up. I looked at it. It does not say 3:51 on the back of that gold medal. It says Olympic champion, 2016 or whatever, okay? That's all that matters. And to think that we would even talk about how fast or how slow Matthew Centrowitz ran when he won a gold medal representing the country, I don't even know where to begin. But that's kind of that trend that it's always like, oh, he's just not good enough. No, that's all there is. Since Danny and I put on shoes, that's what we dream about, is winning, and specifically winning that gold medal. So, it's just, that's really what it's all about. And, to think that it matters how fast you ran is, in my opinion, kind of ridiculous. So, but anyway, that's it. We're at 9 o'clock. I'm back. Yeah. 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 Thanks.
So that was a good job, but Pete's got more information in him. So I want to ask just question and answer with him. I think he can give you some useful information. I gave you a little bit more information when I started his background, but Pete, most of these kids in here, I don't even know how many people are even thinking about running D1 track and field or cross country in here?
Great.
See, we have some that are, some aren't. Take us back to you in high school. Because I tell kids all the time in recruiting, ask me, don't ever pick a school based solely on the running program, because you might get hurt, you might never run, might be, the coach leaves and you don't like it. Go to a school that you feel fits you, and if the track program is a big part of that, great, both of them go hand in hand. But Pete, walk us through a little bit, like, why Georgetown? You weren't recruited by Georgetown, it's one of the best in the country. Why did you even apply there? Did your thought of running even factor into your decision to apply at all? And then what made you even think that you could run there, to even think about walking on? Like, tell these kids, like, what went through the process to apply to Georgetown, go there, and then try and run the team.
So a couple of those answers were easy. My father and both my brothers went to Georgetown. So it was the best school I could get into. So that was an easy answer. But I did get into, I got into BC and University of Vermont. So I did talk to some coaches about running in college. I had run, like I said, I played sports my entire life. I played baseball, basketball, and soccer my freshman year. got cut from basketball down to 2 sports, and then my junior year, my favorite sport, well, baseball and soccer, I got cut from soccer. And I was so bored in the fall of my junior year, I was like, I got to do something. I can't just be coming home every day after school. So my senior year, I decided to run, mostly to get in shape for baseball. I never had a chance of playing college baseball. I wasn't that good. But I just loved the game, and I wanted to have a good senior year. So I ran, and again, part of this also goes to my competitiveness. I remember being in the cafeteria my end of my junior year in high school and talking to a couple of guys in the cross-country team, and didn't really think much of them as far as like they weren't the captain of the football team or basketball team. We really wasn't a very good team. And they kind of said, oh, we hear you might want to come out and run cross-country, and well, you might make our varsity, but we're pretty good. And I remember thinking, like, if I can't beat these guys, like, I'm going to beat all these guys. So it was just kind of my motive. That's just who I am. Like, I was just so competitive that drove me, the fact that these guys didn't think that I could be any good. So that's part of kind of what got me going. I ran a nice season, and then I thought about running in college, but I think the UVM coach told me, I talked to him, and he didn't think I could run at BC, Georgetown, or Villanova, but I might be able to run at UVM. And then I got into BC and Villanova, and I don't know, I got into Georgetown, so I just went, really. But then walking on, I was just naive and lack of information. Now you have so much information. I just didn't know how good they were, really.
But obviously I know Gags, they don't. How did that conversation go when you
So
called Gags?
luckily I didn't call Gags. I called the assistant coach, Walter Krollman, and he's like, well, we take walk-ons, get to 70 miles a week when you get down there, and we'll see how it goes. And I remember hanging up the phone thinking, 70 miles a week, that doesn't make sense. That would be 10 a day. Like that number doesn't, I was running like 5 a day, 4 days. So it didn't even make sense. But I ran in the summer and got down there, and luckily Walter saw something in me because I was kind of a moron my entire freshman year, and I think Gags kicked me off. I didn't even know it. So it was a disaster. But I ran a lot that summer going into sophomore year, and then kind of just showed up, and luckily Coach Gags didn't have the heart to get rid of me. And about a month in, I started beating some people and ran pretty well. So I got lucky, but I also stuck with it and worked hard.
Well, it's a little clearer to me. I wasn't, you guys don't know, I was 1 year behind Pete in school. So I wasn't there his freshman year. But to his point, when he said he got kicked off his freshman year, incoming freshman class was really good that year. And we remember seeing Pete and hearing about Pete, and we said, we're never losing to that guy. And most of us never beat him, So tell us what changed that summer and why you even came back. What made you think after being there in a year and not making any inroads that you could come back and do anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I liked being on the team. I did get to go to some races. I did okay. I loved the gear. We got extra classes. We got classes picked early. We got better housing. Like, I was lucky enough that the track team got a lot of benefits then, and I was able to kind of slide in and get those. And I liked the idea of just being on a team. I'd played sports my entire life, so just the idea of not doing anything. And luckily enough, I spent the summer in DC, and my roommate, I think, was a random guy. He was going to run it. He was running at Brown. So we ran all summer together. So it was luck, a lot of luck that I just got with the right person, and I was just motivated to do well. I'd been a pretty good athlete, and I was kind of embarrassed by what, I had done that first year and needed to kind of clean up my act.
So do you have a particular race, workout, or moment you realize, hey, I can be as good as these other guys? When was that, you're like, now I've arrived, or hey, I'm as good as these guys? Because the first year, you're like, I don't know if I should be here. I like being on the team, everything you said. But when did you have that moment where, hey, I can run with Troutman?
I would say, so again, it's now, I run high school cross country. I don't make it to states. Freshman year was a disaster. And I started to have a pretty good sophomore year, and we went to the regionals, we call the IC4A division race, Division I region race, and I was in the JV race. And I think I was like 3rd or 4th in the JV race, but that got me as the alternate on the varsity team, and we qualified for nationals. So I went from being someone who didn't really run to now being the 8th runner on a nationally ranked team. And that's kind of when I knew, that was a big deal. So got to go to NCAAs, and I'm only a year and a half in, really, to my running career. And at that point, I had never run an outdoor track race. So I didn't run any in high school, and I didn't run any freshman year. And now it's sophomore year, and I'm going to nationals with Mike Starr and John Troutman and all these great guys, and I still haven't even run a track race yet. So I think that's what I do.
And then we'll go for some questions in a minute. One last thing to Pete. I tell people all the time, I remember when Pete and I went to college, there was no internet. We didn't even have word processor was a big thing. You had to do a typewriter. So you didn't know the results of another school until a week later it came out in the paper. So there was no comparing workouts. There was no knowing what your teammates did or your competitors did. So Pete, talk a little bit about, since you are coaching now, the change, how we just knew to believe in gags. We didn't know what Villanova was doing. We didn't know what Arkansas was doing. We just saw the results. They were ranked ahead of us. But would you give advice to kids today to stay on track with their coach and their program and not let all this interference with what someone else is doing?
That's an interesting point. So there's good and bad with that. I think information would have certainly been better. I think it's helpful now that kids are going to Flagstaff and going to altitude, and they're learning about nutrition, and they have all these, and there are training methods out there that we just didn't know about. We didn't do core and all these, a lot of the extra things that you can do now. We just didn't know about it. So, we would never have gone to altitude in the summer, to Boulder. We just I don't even know where we would have stayed, right? Now you get an Airbnb. So that's a good thing to learn. What the problem with that is, and I've heard other coaches talk about this, is, I think specifically the Iona coach mentioned that after nationals, Graham Blanks, right, that's his name, one from Harvard, and his training, and we know Coach Gibby well, and talk about his training, and we know what Gibby's done for years, and all of a sudden his guys started hammering their runs. I'm like, what are you doing? This is not how we train. I'm like, oh, well, Graham Blanks is doing this. Well, yeah, but you're not at the practice with him. You're not coach. You don't know where he's running. You don't know anything. So sometimes that information can be confusing because you're getting too much information. I think what worked for us is that our coach was short, super strong Italian guy who played pro football. He was a quarterback. But he was a huge personality, and we were kind of scared. So we kind of rallied around, like we were all together and kind of afraid of him. And we trusted him completely because we had no other options. I mean, you had to do it it was his way or the highway. So we trusted him, and we ran because of the Georgetown across our chest and for him. I can remember not running well and being disappointed that I ran well, but also being disappointed for him. And I'm sure your kids feel like that at Columbia, and hopefully my kids did at Herndon. They'd come up to me, oh, Coach, I let the team down, and I let you down, and it's hard. You don't want the kid to think that, but it's nice to hear that, that you've kind of made an impact on them. But I think we were lucky enough to have a great coach with a strong personality, and he kind of kept that all away from us. And everyone else had better weather, better meal money, better food, better everything, right? We thought Arkansas was, getting driven to limos and meats and stuff, right? And they had all these advantages, and they probably didn't, but he made us think like that, so we kind of had a chip on our shoulder too, I'd say.
So we heard Coach Dorner say, what are you going to do as a one or two runner to make your other teammates better? Pete was on the team when I got there, I'd been a Foot Locker kid as a junior, one of the better kids, and got hurt my freshman year. And to the point of the story I'm saying about myself is that I remember being a freshman and being hurt, and I don't know if Pete was one of them, but the kids came to me and said, what are you doing? You got to stay healthy. We need you. You got to get better. They came to me and made me be accountable. So Pete, what do you remember about those relays you were on? We would go to Penn relays and win. We had some of the fastest 4x15s in the country, cross country. What were you doing, or what were we doing as teammates to help make ourselves better, hold ourselves accountable? Because obviously you said we were all accountable to gags. We're scared of the big Italian guy. But there was more than that. What was some of the dynamics that went into us teammates to help each other and make each other better? Because we weren't winning with just John Troutman, who was the best in the country. We needed more than that.
Yeah, I think, well, certainly we were close as a team. We bonded because it was kind of us against our coach, which sounds maybe like a bad thing, but it was a good thing at that time. It really kept us close. But I think because of the talent that we had, I mean, national champions, high school, NCAA, like, if I was on I was on that Penn Relays relay, and I was not the best miler on that team, but all three of those guys were NCAA champions at different distances, and national high school champions. The last thing I want to do is let down John Troutman or Steve Holman, who were, 355 milers at the time. And to think that, if we lose to Villanova or Arkansas because I didn't run a good leg, that's not a great feeling, right? And at that level, everyone is so good. I mean, you're lining up looking, next to, you got an Olympian from Arkansas on your left and an All-American Villanova on your right. I'm handing off to a future NCAA champion. I got to get the stick around, and they don't care if we lose. They don't care that I didn't feel good or I broke up with my girlfriend the day before, whatever. Like, you were accountable to them. And we got along well, and I just think we just had a really close team. And, I can remember running Big East when John and I went and won 2, and it was one of my better races. I was pretty happy running around, and John goes by me because he was cheering on everyone else. I was like, I should probably do that too, right? I kind of forgot for a second. But John cared as much about you and Manly and everybody else as he did about himself. And I think Gags was great at promoting, that movie Miracle talks about you play for with the name on the front of your jersey, not the back, right? And Gags never said that, but that's what we thought about. We ran for Georgetown.
So that's the idea, we're trying to impart here is your teammates. That's what started with Coach Dorner tonight, was just figuring out a way to make the people around you better. Obviously, Pete's talked a lot about being better in races, but that starts in practice. In first year, Pete said he couldn't keep up with many people in practice, and he had to work hard, get better, and then once that started, the practice led to the performances in races, and he got better. So obviously not a lot of you guys are going to be in programs that are some of the best in the country, but it's not about that. It's being the best being a part of a program to make it better, and that's all Pete was trying to do. So I'll turn it over now to some question and answers for Pete. We got some time here, but anything you want to ask, I think he's done a good job. The idea with Pete was bringing him here. He can relate to a lot of where you guys are right now. When he made the step to go to Georgetown, find the school, he was right for him, for his reasons. He had family go there, but in the end, he made it a place that he was successful at. You guys can do the same. So let's questions for Pete, and I'll give the microphone to one of these guys to move around.
Is this a college counselors?
Yeah.
Oh, do you run at Mason?
Yeah.
Okay, I coach Jimmy Lors. Do you know Jimmy? He ran at Mason. Okay.
No, I know. You know Gerard?
Yeah, everyone knows Gerard.
Yeah, everyone knows Gerard. Quite famous. All right. So you talked earlier about overtraining, and honestly, I feel like a lot of the guys in the NCAA do overtrain, and I think I just want to hear your perspective. One, do you think you did overtrain? And if you didn't think you did, then how did you not and run a 340?
Yeah, I don't think I overtrained. There may have been some times later professionally when I was running, but no, I don't think we overtrained in college. I mean, we weren't a big, high mileage. I think probably last couple of years I got up to 80, 90 miles a week. We're running 16, 18 on weekends. We were on the track a lot at Georgetown. It was a track-based program. But the one thing I will say about is I don't remember specific workouts.
Yeah.
For us, it wasn't this was a signature workout. It was just a lot of work. We did Tuesday, longer intervals, Thursday, tempos, Saturday, shorter, faster. And I can't recall any specific workouts. So that's what our coach was good about. It wasn't we're gonna do a killer workout. If you do this, you're ready to run fast. It was just work. And sometimes to a fault where, it'd be 40 degrees and raining and he'd want to do mile repeats. I'm like, can't we just do this tomorrow? It's supposed to be sunny tomorrow, right? And as you get older and as professional, then you could kind of tweak that a little bit. But at the same time, I think that kept us from overtraining. And is that, because obviously that workout would then have to be kind of slower, and if it was, beautiful, you could just do too much, right? So.
And did you double or triple?
Yeah,
often?
so double, meaning we would run I think we'd run 3 to 5 in the morning on workout days.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And then double thresholds weren't a thing. Even threshold workouts came in later in my career. Okay. We were really pretty much an interval-based program. The long runs were just long runs. They weren't progression. We didn't have splits in it. I know when Gags when he moved, our coach moved to Stanford, right? Yeah. You ever been to Stanford, Palo Alto? It's beautiful, 365 days a year, right? And he got out there, and all of a sudden his guys are running super fast in September, right? And he had to back off because he's we would run, it was the windiest track in the history of tracks at Georgetown. So we'd do the same work, but we'd run slower. And all of a sudden, this guys are running 37, 38, 39. And he's like, whoa, you know, and they could do too much. So he had to kind of adjust. And I think the weather and and being, you know, at a pretty high academic school, there's sometimes you just had to miss a workout. So I think part of that factored in that, you know, if you're at Boulder, it's easy to, you ever been to Boulder? It's easy to overtrain. I went out there one time and I put 120 miles in without even thinking about it. You're just running, it's gorgeous. So between weather and snow and no indoor track, like all that kind of factors in. I think it kind of kept us. And we really focused on racing. And that's what I talked about. It's about racing. So if you went to a race and didn't run well, no one cared what your log looked like. All I know is that you didn't win the Big East when you were supposed to, so no one cares that you did a tempo. You know, I looked at my log recently. I did it like a 10-mile tempo, like 5:20 pace, like 2 days before the Big East 5K championships. I know, like I don't know what I was doing, but I worked, right, because I could handle it. But if I didn't win, I was supposed to, then that's a problem, right? So whatever, I was surprised at myself, but obviously I knew, you know, what we could do. So, is overtraining a problem? I mean, you know, the top 10 guys at NCAA Cross didn't overtrain. The bottom 10 guys maybe did, you know. I mean, results show. I do like the whole threshold workout. I think that's a great idea. I think the super shoes are great because they allow you to do more work. We couldn't even have done, you know, I've seen some of these workouts. I physically could not have done these workouts in the shoes that we had because my calves would have been shredded. And now you can actually do it, so you can do more work. Swimmers have noticed. Swimmers are doing an incredible amount more work than they used to do years ago. So everything adapts, recovery's better. You know, we didn't have the, we didn't have Normatec. So you have at your disposal an incredible ability to recover, which we didn't have. So it was somewhat self-limiting. Yeah. So I don't think it was as much of a factor back then as it might be now.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anyone? Yep. Oh, wow, the questions. Great. In the back. Yep. This is easy for speakers. Great.
I just wanted to know, when is the only time you'd ever think about like time? Because I know you said that time doesn't matter. It's more
In cross country. In track, it does. 100% it does in track. Yes.
Yes.
So you mean me as a runner or as a coach?
Either.
Okay, so as a runner in cross country, I literally never did. I mean, I made 2 world cross teams. I have no idea. Like, there were 12K. It was like 35 minutes. I literally have no idea. And track is very different, especially outdoors, because I know a track in Alaska is the same as a track in Sweden as one in Arkansas, right? So that makes sense, and we can judge ourselves, you know, based on time. Where time can be a factor in cross country, I would say, especially for new runners, is, you know, hey, this is my first race, and I was 3 minutes behind our #1 runner. And by the end of the season, I'm now only 45 seconds behind him, and he's probably, you know, about the same level. So you can use time to kind of prove, you know, how well you've improved. Splits can help too. You know, like you went out and you ran a great race, and, you know, you didn't run a great race and you're out at 6:30, well, that might be a little too quick. So you can use that information to be like, well, I probably need to go a little bit slower because I was definitely too fast. Assuming we know that, you know, those times are accurate, right, or the splits. But yeah, times can be bad. I mean, I used them with my team to say, hey, you know, especially if a kid, you know, as a coach, you always want to uplift kids and make them feel better. So they may have thought they had a bad race. I'm like, yeah, they didn't great, but holy cow, they actually ran faster than last year, so I'm going to push that on them. I'm like, hey, look, at least there's something we can kind of hang your hat on is you ran a little bit faster, so that's good. So, you know, maybe take that away positively. But in general, I just thought it was easier to talk about beating people because we can get so, you know, obsessed with times. And, you know, if you run whatever time at Pole Green, that has no comparison to what someone does, you know, in Alaska or Minnesota in a snowstorm versus Richmond on a flat, beautiful course around soccer fields. You know. Now track is outdoor track. Indoor track gets a little dicey because you got flat tracks and Liberty, you know, and VMI tracks are super fast and some aren't, you know. So that's why, you know, some kid may say, oh, I ran, you know, 2:20 in the 800. And that was at Liberty, but someone else ran 2:25 at a flat track at George Mason with tight turns. I'll take that over a 2:20 at Liberty, you know, because it's tuned, bank track, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it can be useful as long, whatever's going to help you and be positive about it.
What were your PRs finishing college for track?
I ran, in college, I ran 13:39 at the World University Games in Europe my senior year. And then I had run 7:58 for 3K. My PR would have been from that 4x15, and that was, okay, I think I ran 3:40, and then I ran, I think, 4:03 in Madison Square Garden on like a 12-lap track. And then, 10K, I had run 28:50, I think. Yeah, 28:50. And those at the time got me All-American, got me NCAAs and things like that. So obviously that's changed, but I still think, just for the, again, the super shoes and the tracks, would my have, 13:47 for second at the NCAA championships, how would that compare today? I still think I'd be pretty good. I mean, just because I was competitive and I trained hard, right? And I was a good runner. So, that's not going to get you second place anymore. But I got to think I would have been pretty good still. I hope so. I still would have been nationals, and I was a good racer. I still think I would have raced well, despite at the time. You can't really. That's the problem with times, also. Anyone else? That's it. All right. Thanks. Thank you.
So I think we got a lot of useful information from some of our older coaches and some of our younger coaches here. I want to thank Pete for coming down. He'll be around the rest of tonight, tomorrow. If you see him in the cafeteria, anything like that, say hi. Coach Dorner as well. So thank you guys. You did a good job tonight, paying attention, being respectful. So I appreciate that. All right, that's it for tonight. Remember to get your pizzas. Hold on.
Hold on a sec.
For tonight. We still have Team Challenge wrap-up. And then pizzas, 10:30 your rooms, 10:45 and 11. Same time tomorrow morning in the gym.
All right, I will keep this quick so you guys can get out of here. We have gift cards for American Monday and Twinning Tuesday. When you see your picture, one of you please come up. One, two, they can't count. They're not in any of the CFPAs. Which one?
Wait, how much is the start? Are they both $10?
Next. Ellie, come on. As reminders, make sure you're tagging us, make sure your profiles are public so we can see. And I think our last one. All right, next up and last, we're going to show them the results. All right, our results, our standings after today, just a couple notes on today. I had to do some manual adjusting of points. counselors cheating for their teams. One team got 10 bonus points for the amphitheater steps, where there were no bonus points. We also had a team forfeit all of their bonus points because number order is hard. And they decided to not start where they were supposed to, instead going to the closest section and then going to the next closest one and lying to me about it like I wasn't going to figure it out. Come on, I got 2 teenage daughters at home. I've been teaching for 20 years, guys. I'm going to figure it all out. So with all of that, Coach Walton, here are our standings. As you can see, we got a pretty close battle going on here. Nobody's really out of it yet. Atlee, Group 1, you tried to get out of it with what you were doing in the scavenger hunt. I don't know what that was. I might be moving faster than you were. So as a reminder, we actually have 2 team challenges tomorrow. We have 2. Tomorrow's the big day. We have our regularly scheduled challenge at 1:15. We'll meet over on the amphitheater steps as long as it's not raining. And then tomorrow night, I'd say these lovely people sitting in front of me, but they're not. They're in charge tomorrow night. The counselors are in charge tomorrow night. It's counselor night. What does that mean? It means they've come up with your challenges tomorrow night. It means they decide the points. They will report back to me and say, here's what it is. Come ready. Don't show up in flip-flops again. You're at a running camp. Why would you show up to a running challenge at a running camp in slides? It doesn't make sense. There you go. Have a good night. Get your pizza. Make sure you are in your rooms at 10:30.
Remember, if those were your AirPods,